Today's top picks from Reuters Breakingviews: why Spain needs some jiggery pokery to revive its banks, and Lloyds gets rock bottom prices for its UK branches. With me now to discuss these stories is Reuters Breakingviews assistant editor Robert Cole.
Hiya.
Good morning, Robert. Spanish Banks, your piece talks of jiggery pokery and creative finance. If the last 5 years have taught us anything, surely it's those are the last things we need.
I think it's important to point out that, you know, it's not necessarily what we want to happen, or indeed in an ideal world should happen. But it seems, you know, this is an in-depth piece of analysis into what might happen, and given the status quo and given the way that the whole issue has become so complicated and involved and political, you know, it's a realistic piece about saying how it might go forward. Yes, I share with you, you know, some severe reservations. I think that a bit of simplicity and as little jiggery pokery as possible would be in order. But I think you have to recognise that we are where we are, and that actually this jiggery pokery might be a way for Spain to square some circles. And
this is essentially to get the bank loans off the sovereign's balance sheet, is that right?
Well, it's to do two things, as I understand it. First is to, if you like, cauterise the bad banking problem, those loans which are non-performing, and put them in a particular parcel. But then, while recognising that the Spanish government has a responsibility and will have a responsibility for backing those bad loans, somehow, yes, jiggery pokering around so that it doesn't look like it is on the hook for it. And yeah, I mean, you know, part of this will be to try and attract some private investor interest. And of course, you know, even the worst loans in the world have a price. And you know, if the refinancing comes at a price which is suitably attractive with a realistic upside, maybe the jiggery pokery need not really be so might pay off. Yes.
Well, that brings me to my final question on this: is this workable? Because we're talking about huge sums involved, you know, tens of billions. Can this work? Well,
the parallels with Ireland are also drawn in this piece, and no one's trying to say that Ireland's out of the woods either. But, you know, it seems to have worked for them, so perhaps the model can be replicated down in the Iberian Peninsula.
OK, well, from Spain back up to the UK, Lloyds today confirmed it sold 632 branches to the Co-op, but they're getting barely £1 million for each branch. Rock bottom prices, and that's a pretty dreadful deal for the UK taxpayer.
Well, it depends which way you look at it, really. I mean, when you say £1 million per branch, I think that sounds like quite a generous offer, really, you know, particularly with so much of banking going into sort of electronic means and so on. But this has been a story that's been rumbling along for a long, long time, and I think that one of the key things is that, and it's been kind of unfortunate that it's come at Lloyds at this particular time, and clearly, you know, banks aren't in a great place, so it's not going to get a great price. But I mean, it's good that it's off Lloyds' to-do list, if you like. And I think it is good, you know, for the broadest perspective. You know, competition is really important in all sorts of business, and particularly banking. And when the Lloyds Banking Group was created, it clearly created for the UK market a very large, perhaps dominant player. And so I think that, you know, while Lloyds may be getting a less than generous price here, you know, it's good that we've got this done for Lloyds to get it off its agenda, and for the good of competition, one can hope.
Well, so Co-op is now a pretty big player in the UK banking industry, but on the other hand, they're very inexperienced. Can they make a fist of it? Although I suppose the bar has been set low, because the guys the experts haven't made a particularly good fist of it lately.
You took the words right out of my mouth, you know, who needs experience when the experience of the last 5 or 10 years has been so grim, and, you know, they've been misselling or undercapitalisation, or the wrong loans, or left, right, and centre. So that's a slightly glib thing. Clearly, you do need some experience, but the Co-op has some experience, and perhaps it can show you know, a clean pair of heels to the established players. Again, I think we need to hope, and, you know, you've got to let competition thrive in this kind of, you know, a market economy, or at least try and help it to. And by saying all the time, well, the competition won't be good enough, well, give them a chance.
OK, Robert, thank you very much. That's all for now. My thanks, as always, there to Robert Cole. For more agenda-setting financial insight, watch our US Breaking Views show every day at 12:30 Eastern, that's 17:30 British Summer Time. I'm Jamie McGeever. This is Reuters.